What if you went back in time? Today on the What If Brigade, we're going to be exploring what if you went back in time to when you were 18? Like you went back in time and you were in the same body as you were when you were 18. And the short answer is you would ruin your life. But no. So to expand on that, one of the premier analogies of when you go back in time is a butterfly flaps its wings and uh, 200 miles away it causes a hurricane. There's a chain of events 200 miles away, it causes a hurricane. And the important thing to remember about you going back in time to when you were 18 is that you are not the butterfly. You are the hurricane. You are the hurricane. So you would ruin your life. I think a lot of people think like, oh, if I just had the same life and I had $3 billion, things would be better. How would you have the same life if you had $3 billion? Your house, your car, your relationship with your parents would all be very different. Like you would not have the same life. You would not have the same wife. You would not have the same girlfriend or whatever. You would not have the same friends. That would all be gone. Like you would completely destroy your life if you got $3 billion. Even today, it would literally change your life, and you would have different hobbies and different friends and different social circles, and everything would be different. And when we think about going back in time to when we're 18, we think like, oh, I would do things different. And here's the first thing that I want everyone to think about if you were transported back in time in your original body, and that is you would be super creepy and weird. First of all, you would break into tears upon meeting people for the first time because you haven't seen them in 20 years. Maybe they're dead in the future. You would be super happy to see people who have no idea who you are. And second, you would be super mad to see people who like you a lot in that moment. Your ex-girlfriend that you had the big falling out and, she burned all your clothes or whatever. She likes you when she meets you. And your reaction to her is not going to be socially acceptable or normal because she hasn't done any of those things to you yet. Like nobody understands why you're mad. So and not just and here's the thing: the whole butterfly flapping its wings. Right from the get-go, you're gonna ruin the trajectory of your original life. You are going to just do things and say things differently, and everything is going to turn out different, and your whole life is going to be obliterated. And your memories are intact. You think that you had a life 10, 20 years past that. And that is going to be increasingly untenable because every move that you make, every change that you make in your original life, and unless you are the consummate actor who never forgets a line and has a photographic memory, you are not going to be able to pull off those original interactions. You just are not. You're going to meet people and you're not going to say the same thing that you did 20 years ago. And then and it's not going to come off right, and it's going to be all weird and awkward. And the person who was your best friend now thinks that you're kind of a psycho, and like it just snowballs from there. But not even that. Even after that, even after you ruin your future, you are going to have unnatural knowledge of the past. Things that people told you 5 years in the future, like you went on that special camping trip and they divulged their deepest, darkest secret. You know that already. you know a whole bunch of stuff about the past that your parents haven't told you yet. So you know things about your family that haven't been revealed, and you are just going to be just the creepiest weirdo. And so what do you even do about this? And the obvious answer is uh, to to sequester yourself for a few years in some different college or university, and then come back a weird, changed person who's all somewhat mystic. And it can be, you can be whatever flavor of mystic you want. You can be atheist mystic, you can be Christian mystic, but you're going to be a mystic. But uh, and this kind of goes back to, you can't really go to your original university. I mean, you can, but are you going to major in the exact same subjects and take the exact same tests and do the exact same homework again? And at first you're like, oh man, I would get really good grades on this. But also, if you actually went into this field after you graduated, you're going to be so annoying to that professor. Oh my gosh, they're going to be talking about theory, and you're just going to be like, that doesn't work in the real world. That's not going to happen. You're going to know stuff about what happens to these theories in like 3-5 years that your professor has no idea is coming. Like, they can't see the future. You have been to the future. You're just going to have opinions and insights into the field that are super annoying to your professors, super creepy and weird. Nobody believes you. And 3 years from now, they're going to be like, oh man, that weirdo kid told me this was going to happen. The mortgage crisis. I mean, he totally had the heads up. But at the same time, in the moment, they don't believe you. They don't believe you. You're annoying. They're going to be dismissive, and you're not going to want to do all the same homework again. I mean, you say like, oh, I could get better scores and blah blah blah, but about halfway through, you're going to realize that you're just kind of like flubbing your way through, and all of your real future income is going to come from your amazing stock picks later. So you're not going to care. You're not going to care. So the best thing for you to do in this situation, if you're teleported back to your 18-year-old body, is to go to a completely different university and hide. You want to hide. You want to go somewhere else where people don't know you, and that your weird mysticism, crazy prediction powers don't show up on the radar for a while. Maybe don't go home for fall break. Okay, go home for Christmas break, but try not to say anything. Try not to say anything at all. And then eventually people will just be like, oh, he got weird when he went to Purdue or whatever. So that's what you want to happen, is you want people to think that university made you weird and not time travel. But and at the same time, you're like, you don't need to go back to school to get your other degrees. I have a double major, anthropology and management. That's great. Why would I major in anthropology and management again? I already know that stuff. I already have that degree. Like, even if I major in something else, the knowledge is still in my head. There's not any real reason for me, like, oh, I'm going to major in anthropology again, even though I know I'm never going to work in anthropology. Like, what a great idea. No. I go to a different university. I major in something else. And this is the other thing that people don't think about time travel and back to the past is, okay, let's say that someone has something terrible happen to them. They get into a car accident and someone dies, and approximately when that happens. What are you going to do? keep them home for all of September. You're like, well, you get into a car accident in September of this year and people die. Like, first of all, they're not going to believe you. And you're not going to have any way to prove to them that you're anything other than a psycho. And though, even if you do somehow do this, once you prevent it, the proof is gone. Like, then they're really not going to believe you because they never had the car accident that killed somebody, and it never ruined their life. And so you're just a crazy person who ranted to them about stuff for all of September, and they have no idea that you were 100% right. You know it. I mean, you're happy. The best thing to do is to get a completely new situation where you're somewhere else. You still have all of your original memories intact. And this brings up another thing. If you try to follow your original path, you're never going to get it exactly. And what's eventually going to drive you insane is the little differences, or the big differences. Like I said, you're probably going to ruin your life. You're going to invest in a bunch of stocks and be a billionaire. And so the fact that you tried to make all of your other interactions go this exactly the same just is not going to work at all. But if you did try to follow your original path and only make minor changes, so you're going to have your original memories, and then you're going to have what really happened, and then you're going to have your knowledge of the future, and then you're going to have what's actually happening, and it's going to be impossible to keep this all straight in your head. And eventually you're going to just say and do things that are entirely inappropriate for your timeline, and it's based on your real memories, and this is why switching to an entirely new situation. So you go to a different university than you had planned. You major in a different major than you had planned. You meet entirely new people. You keep secret from your parents that you've started some sort of investment account and are investing in Amazon and Google and Monster and all these fantastic investments that are going to make you your billions, and it's not as weird. You're still going to be creepy and weird. You're going to have advanced knowledge of where society is going and things like that. And a lot of things, I think are going to, there's going to be a bunch of stuff where it's totally obvious to you where it's going because you've seen the future. But it's not obvious to the people that you're presently talking to. And then those people are not going to understand where you're coming from because you have absolute surety. You know what is coming down the pipeline. And butterfly flapping its wings aside, let's say your life is pretty much inconsequential, which is normal for most people. But so you're not changing the future. You're not changing the grand scheme of things. And so the grand scheme of things all functions the way you would expect. But that's not necessary. Like, other people don't know that. Like, you're a creepy Nostradamus weirdo predicting the future, and like, they're mad at you when you're right and they're wrong. They're not. Nobody's going to thank you for being super awesome at this. You're going to be this great investor and say socially advanced things, I guess, and everyone is going to hate you. Yeah, you're going to be like a out of touch billionaire who says weird stuff and Everyone has kind of learned to ignore you because no one can emulate you. You just have this advanced knowledge of the future that you apply to your investments, and everyone, and sometimes they even fail. Sometimes the butterfly flapping its wings effect, you don't have the golden touch. 10% of your investments completely go bankrupt. You're completely wrong about the future because you've changed it by being there. But all of that just kind of adds up, where you are an eccentric billionaire who says extremely odd things, and then eventually you're going to get to the end of the rope. You're going to get to present day, where you don't know anything about what's happening after that, and all of your prediction powers fail. And yeah, I mean, like, maybe invest in some bonds and dividends, and don't be super confident, because you cannot predict the future. You just had advanced knowledge, and eventually, between the butterfly flapping its wings effect of you changing the future and time catching up with you, you're going to get to the point where you're in the future, and then you're just going to be just a guy with two sets of memories, one of which does not make any sense. And that is why you would not want to go back in time to when you were 18, because you will screw up your life, your relationships. It's not really. It's a horror scenario. It's not a dream scenario. So this has been the What If Brigade. What would you do differently if you went back in time to when you were 18?